Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of With Conviction, a story of hope, horror, and history. My name is Rain, my pronouns are she, her, and I am your GM for this adventure. With me are my heroes for this campaign. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hi there, I'm Alice. I use she and they pronouns, and I play Desdemona Hartwood, who also uses she and they pronouns, and she is a gothy, punky, magical girl with a heart of pink. And she's not feeling so hot right now. She is also a rose heart guardian.
I'm Skylin. My pronouns are they and them, and I play Chris Whitlock, whose pronouns are she or any. Chris is a firebrand artillery who is a little bit frozen at the moment emotionally and is our very, very sporty, magical, not a girl.
And I am Rob. My pronouns are he, him. I play Eliza, whose pronouns are she, her. Eliza is our fiery, stalwart soul warrior magical girl. And currently she is very, very sorry and kind of panicky.
Indeed, the last time we had left off, you had just defeated an attempt by a number of these creatures to escape from the dark world in which they had been imprisoned. And in the process of doing so, two of your number had been seriously injured. One was Desdemona, who, having the powers that you have, can recover in a reasonable amount of time as long as she takes care of herself. But the other is Hazel Glass, who is not magical and who was just admitted to the hospital with a sucking chest wound. So, Eliza, you've been waiting there for quite some time. And finally, Des and Chris and Faith walk in.
Chris has dropped her transformation in that process. In fact, I think she dropped it shortly after things were moving in a let's go take care of Hazel's direction.
Eliza is in the waiting room and looking just panicky. Her eyes are red. She's not having a good time. She's also dropped her transformation, of course, back in her casual clothes.
Des is still, she's a little out of it and bleeding a bit since she did that whole fight without transforming. Both fights.
Has everyone else taken some time to patch themselves up before you get here?
Eliza had no time to do that, but she also hadn't really taken any damage.
On the way over, Chris would have done her best to help Des patch up the worst of things.
A number of the injuries that Des took were not physically apparent as they had come from, well, ghosts. So the job's a little bit easier than perhaps Des is feeling right now.
Yeah, feeling pretty rough. But everyone else is doing okay?
Faith rushes up to Eliza. How's she doing? It's
I don't know. I think they were taking her into surgery. Does this need surgery? I don't know.
Yes, it needs surgery. What the hell were you thinking?
Sorry.
Chris sits down and clamps her mouth shut.
I haven't heard anything lately. I don't know.
Faith gives you a hug.
Uh, she eventually hugs Faith back after panicking for a moment.
There's a tight squeeze, and she lets go and sits down next to you.
We worked so hard to get her back, and now.
Chris's mouth opens a couple times, and instead of speaking, she walks out of the room.
Eliza looks after her for a moment.
Des, what are you doing?
I think she's sitting down near everybody, not next to everyone. Like head hanging down in front of her. and eventually goes, "So, no matter what happens here, we're not taking Hazel with us on any of whatever this all is anymore."
Eliza is shaking her head very quickly. Eliza looks up at Faith for a moment, and just her eyes flick to presumably. I'm imagining that Faith didn't bring a gun into the hospital.
No, she seems to have left it in the car. She also currently has her hands folded and seems to be praying.
Eliza was about to say something, but seeing the pose of prayer, she just stops for a moment and then closes her eyes. She's not really sure what she's doing, but maybe something.
Chris, what are you doing outside?
Chris has stalked through the hallway and just heads out the door. She takes 3 laps of the parking lot before she's calm enough to send a text. The first one's to Jesse. It just says "fuck" in all caps. The second one is to the rest of Volleyball House. It says, "I'll be home late."
At this hour, I think Veronica's the only one who responds and just, okay.
What time is it?
It's pretty late. When you first laid eyes on the hive, that was sometime past 10 at night.
Oh, okay.
So it is in the witching hour by now.
Chris, she finds a tree, probably one of the little ones. Hospitals tend to have planted trees that are still taking time to find their roots and reach high enough into the sky to have any sort of grandiosity to them. She punches it. The first one's pretty hard. She shakes her hand and apologizes to the tree.
The tree does not respond.
How long has Chris been gone?
3 laps around the parking lot has probably taken her 20-30 minutes.
Okay. I think given the amount of time, does text, "Hi, are you still here?"
She texts back, "I probably shouldn't punch trees."
Has text back, "Haha, yeah, plus they don't put up much of a fight."
Especially the small ones.
Nodding emoji. "Do you want company?"
Chris looks at that text, and the poor tree that she had punched, she leans against it and just falls to the ground. It takes her a minute, but she sends a thumbs up emoji.
Des gets it and takes a sec and looks to Faith and Eliza and says, I'm gonna go talk to Chris real quick.
Eliza gives a shaky nod.
Text me, call me if you hear anything."
Okay.
She heads out to try and find Chris.
I don't think she's hard to find. There's only a handful of trees, and there's probably plenty of streetlights that line not only the parking lot, but the little bits of green that are around the hospital.
Yeah, I don't think a hospital is somewhere you want poorly lit. So yeah, she walks over. Is Chris on the ground?
Chris is sitting on the ground with her back against a tree, her knees pulled up to her chest, and her head just sunk as far as it can go into that space.
Des lowers herself to the ground next to Chris and gently places one arm around her shoulder.
Chris leans in. You can feel that her shoulders are shaking.
Des slowly draws her into a full hug. She says, "Just I'm sorry, Chris.
Chris curls into the embrace. It's my fault.
This actually shocks Des a little bit. She goes, "What? What do you mean it's your fault?"
It's my job to get people. She shakes her head. It's my job to get the team out of sticky situations.
No. You
She
are.
looks up. Des, that is my job as captain.
This isn't volleyball, Chris. This is uncharted territory for all of us. If anyone is to blame at all, it's me.
I made the wrong call.
What? Bringing her along?
I thought the best thing I could do was pick off the things that were behind us. I
That
should have
was the
gotten.
right call.
I don't know about that.
You took out, I think, more than literally any of us.
And she's still dying. This might not be volleyball, but she is on my team. Des, it's my job to make sure she's okay. I fucking failed.
No, I failed you, all of you. Whatever happens is on me, Chris, not on you.
I won't accept that.
Well, then we'll both be blaming ourselves for the whole time we're here.
Fuck.
It's my job too, you know? I'm supposed to protect everyone.
Chris breathes heavily and convulses in a sob and just kind of curls into you.
Des sort of slowly, hesitatingly reaches up to like stroke her hair.
Chris leans into it. It takes a minute, but her breathing slows down. Maybe we all just miscalculated.
There's not a guidebook for this, Chris. We made a mistake bringing her with us. We're not gonna repeat that mistake.
Do you think we can actually stop her?
If it's for the sake of protecting her, I'll go a long way to try and stop Hazel.
Chris seems to accept that, and she sighs and sort of leans in again, just into the comfort. She stays there for a few minutes. And then, if they'll let us, I want to stay all night. I want to make sure she's out and safe, or at least stable, before we go.
I went through this with a grandparent. Depends. Some places will let you stay pretty late, but usually it's family only. We'll stay as long as we can, and we'll make sure they contact us the moment they know what's going on.
Chris sort of extracts herself from Des. Thanks for coming out here. Thank you.
Of course.
She gives Des a quick, peck on the cheek. Can we go in?
Yeah.
It takes some time, but eventually you do get news. She'll be okay. She's going to have to stay some time in the hospital, but it's going to turn out okay. What do you all do the next morning? Particularly Eliza, who, if memory serves, has work, no?
Yeah, I think Eliza actually texted the work group chat and got her shift covered. because, well, situations.
Yeah.
So as soon as visiting hours start, which is probably like 10 a.m., I think she's there in Hazel's room.
Okay. What about everyone else?
It's Friday.
It is.
Chris is in class physically, but not really mentally. As soon as she's done, she's at the hospital seeing if she can visit Hazel.
Is this the day I was supposed to help my dad replace the glass?
Indeed it is.
I yeah, I think she texts her dad and says, "I'm so sorry, but one of my friends is in the hospital. Can you do the job by yourself?"
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Dad. And she sends a heart emoji.
He sends a heart back.
So Des is gonna stay there, try and be there for everyone.
Chris is the last one to get there. You see, it's a fairly normal hospital room. A wide, very complicated looking bed. Hazel is sitting in it. There are bandages everywhere. There's all kinds of complicated machinery. And you see the other two in there talking with her.
Chris just tries to make eye contact first.
I think the movement at the door attracts Hazel's attention. And yeah, she does make eye contact with you. She looks tired.
Chris takes a fist and moves it in a circular motion, sort of between her chest and her stomach, in ASL for "I'm sorry."
Hazel's face twists up in a look of guilt, and she shakes her head.
Chris looks down, and it takes her a second to sort of make the decision to move further into the room. When she does, she finds a chair and sits as close to Hazel as she can manage. "I'm not going to give you my 1,000 apologies right now. Right now, I just want you to get better."
Yeah. I said it's probably going to be a couple of weeks, but I'll get back to it after that.
I get back to what?
Hazel looks at the open door, purses her lips, and then looks over at Des and smiles.
I'm real sorry, Hazel, but we're not taking you with us.
Eliza is just shaking her head.
Her smile fades. Just give it a bit of time.
Hazel, are your memories back? Are you whole again in spirit?
There's a pause for a moment. I mean, I think so. There's nothing that I'm obviously forgetting.
Then let us handle it, please. I hate to say it, but we're suited for it.
Her brow furrows. She's quiet for a minute and swallows, grimaces, and then
I'm not going to let you almost die on me again. You know how stubborn I can be.
Easy.
Fine. Chris, roll. Yeah, we can say charm.
As I'm doing this, Chris adds, "Besides, if you try, I think Des might linebacker tackle you." That is an 8 on the dice, plus 1 is 9.
She makes a face and then nods. Fine, I'll see what I can do from here.
Now, you'll just get better, okay? once they send you home, you and Faith can be our girls in the chair.
Sure. Does anyone have Read a Heart?
No.
No.
Wrong character.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to attempt to roll that flat?
As well. That is a 10 on the dice.
She is not happy with this idea. She is trying to pretend that it doesn't bother her, but oh my god, it bothers her so much.
Tez pulls a chair over and sits down next to Hazel's bed and goes, Hazel, we just got you back, and I was being selfish, and I thought that if you were there, maybe it would be okay for me to not embrace all of this, and I can't have you getting hurt again. I can take the punishment. That's what I'm here for. If I could give you my powers so that you would be safe, I would do it. But best I can do is to keep you out of it and make sure you stay safe.
Hazel pauses and looks around the room and goes, all right, show of hands. Who here doesn't blame themselves for what happened to me?
I'm the one who. She trails off.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It happens, okay? It sucks. Sometimes people get hurt. It's gonna work out. I'm not dead. So get over yourselves and go and kick their asses and make sure that nobody else gets hurt.
That's the plan.
Chris leans up and very carefully plants a kiss on Hazel's temple.
Thanks, boss.
Chris smiles. When you're out of here, you're gonna have to show me some of your moves.
She grins.
If you can't come along, you can at least train me to be better, right?
Well, I don't know where that pipe went, so I can't help you there.
Eliza's got a car full of swords.
You should probably take those out of the car.
Probably not a safe place to store swords.
I don't regret it, you know.
Well,
I'd do it again if it kept you guys from getting hurt.
we're still standing. Not to be mean about it, but you're the one in the hospital bed.
Yeah, and that's why I get to. That's why I get to say that.
Okay. Fair's fair.
It's the first little laugh that you've gotten out of Eliza today.
Hazel grins. Now go. You all got beat to shit too. Go take care of yourselves. And she sort of waves at you.
Do you want me to get you some Jello?
Yeah,
What color?
green.
That's okay. I'll be back, okay?
Chris's smile goes from soft to wolfish in that moment.
So, do you all leave after that, or?
It's kind of a minor gesture, but like the Jello, but also just showing up at all. Is that enough to ping support a friend in crisis as a light trigger?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right, 4 light then.
Do you think any of the past like hour honestly count as take the blame for a friend?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna take that one tick.
Are you seeing this as the episode where we do like day off actions and such?
I was trying to set you all up to be able to take your time skip if you wanted it.
Cool. So, maybe we should talk out of character about.
Yeah, let's just do a little bit of over the table talking real quick. I think it would be really fun to at least make mention of folks coming to a volleyball game. Going dancing sounds like fun. I know we talked about Chris would totally want to take folks to an 18 up night at a bar.
Okay, so we can establish that they have done quite a bit of this, but I think it would be prudent to shave it down to 1 to 3 scenes to do.
Okay.
Sure.
I agree.
So I think the way I want to do this, each of you pick one scene that you want to do. I think I can guess what Eliza's is going to be.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yes. Everyone pick one scene that you want to do, and we can set those up and run them.
Okay. I mean, it's gonna be like a week or two, right?
It depends on how much time you want to spend. This is entirely up to you.
Okay. So the thing I'm thinking about is right now, what is Chris's perception of the friendship level with Desdemona?
Dez is considered a confidant,
Okay.
which is why Dez got as much vulnerability as she did at the hospital.
Gotcha. So currently, I still have Chris at a friend. So some kind of thing we can do for build friendship would be good.
One possibility, I think Rain mentioned this at one point, you could do like an asymmetric thing where whatever you're doing is a build friendship for one of you, but for the other, it's a different day off action.
Oh, that's a good point.
On that note, what I would think I want to have Chris do here is for one of her performances, be it her first drag show or her volleyball game, and I think the volleyball game might be the way to go this time. I would like to use that as a relax action, but she's going to invite Des and Eliza, and Jesse's going to be there because pep band stuff.
I would be down with that. Des is very used to appearing at people's sporting events and the like, as is requested. So showing up for a volleyball game would absolutely be something she would do.
I could see that working as a build friendship for Des, maybe.
Okay. We see Des on the sidelines watching the volleyball team as they are on the court. We see a reasonably busy set of stands and the squeak of shoes as the volleyball goes back and forth. There are shouts echoing across the room. Des, what are you doing?
She is like standing next to the bleachers, quietly cheering for Chris when she feels the crowd isn't gonna hear her as much.
Quietly cheering.
uh, she's striking a balance between not noticed and still there cheering for Chris.
Excellent. Make me a stealth roll.
Stealth roll, perfect. Excellent. That is 10.
Yeah, you're able to read the crowd pretty well, and when all the attention is laser focused on the court, the ball is going back and forth before somebody comes out of nowhere and delivers a very nice strike to score. And you're like, okay, now no one's paying attention to me. And what kind of cheer do you give?
I think Desdemona actually does know sports. What is Chris's main role again?
Chris's main role as captain, and because she's so damn short, she plays the back line. So
Okay.
she rotates in when one of the taller players rotates to serve. And so she's the main server. She's the one who will set up a streak of points just from serves alone. And she's also a decent passer, so she usually stays in the rotation through the 3 spots in the back. And as soon as she would rotate up to the front where the net is, she rotates out and is replaced by the same taller player that she
Right.
replaces.
During this, we get a shot of Eliza in Hazel's hospital room with a live stream of the game playing on her laptop.
Nice. I love
I
it.
like that.
Aww.
So it hits halftime, and Chris, as you take a moment to breathe and you're looking around, you see Des watching from the corner of the stands.
Chris grins massively and waves.
Gives a small wave back.
You see a couple people look over to see who Chris is waving at.
Uh-oh. Okay, this is where the 10 kicks in. No, yeah, she tries to make herself seem smaller as she sees like other members of the team looking over to where she's at.
I think the game is going well enough in the first half where Chris lets go of her game focus for just a second and straight up blows a kiss in Dez's direction.
Hey Des, roll build friendship.
Do I get to add anything to this? I don't think I have anything particularly excellent.
Can I help?
You know what? I'll accept the help.
Okay.
Especially with that blown kiss.
So Chris is at a friend for me, so that's a +2, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so then that is with the +2, that is a 12.
Okay. So your friendship definitely grows stronger, even if she's calling way too much attention to you.
Yeah, does attempt to shrink into nothing and blushes a little bit at so much public attention being aimed at her. And yes, I will mark that off on my sheet. Excellent.
It's not long before Chris has to turn back to the team and actually play the game again, which I imagine is a bit of a blessing for Des.
Yes, but she does stick around for the whole game.
Excellent.
Does Chris need to roll relax?
Yeah. It's nice to take your mind off of the things that have been happening lately and focus on what should be happening. So go ahead and roll relax.
Okay. Am I adding anything to this?
Well, tell me about how you view this as relaxing.
This is something where she finally gets to sink into something she knows. Yeah, that first week of learning how to use magic was chaos and terror and pain and guilt. That's not what this is. This is shining lights. This is sweat-soaked shirts. This is familiar calls, rules that are solid, and something she knows inside and out. And having her friends there makes it all the better.
You go back into the game, and we see that wolfish grin across your face as you set up a shot. A shot is taken. You go again and again, and you bring your team ahead, and we see you slow motion as you set up a shot, and you are in the zone. Go ahead and roll relax with place.
That is 7 plus 2 is 9.
All right. On a partial success, you can clear a point of stress. You don't have to, but you can.
I will.
And you may gain one and lose one from a good reputation, a connection, an important item, or a convenient opportunity.
I'd like to say that Hazel's not able to play this game. And so in that, I think she loses a connection. Maybe that could manifest as a point of friendship, maybe, with Hazel.
I think that makes sense.
But gains a good reputation as a captain.
Sounds good. The team is beaming as you walk off the court.
Do they win the game?
They did, in fact. This is one of the better games that you've had in a while, and it's nice to be back after all that fear. And you've managed to compensate for Hazel not being there.
Yeah. I think there's just a moment where, as the game is finishing and the teams are going past each other under the net to say good game, where Chris's smile drops. She wishes Hazel was here. I did mark Hazel down from friends to acquaintance. Which it makes me sad too, but I think it's appropriate mechanically.
Okay.
I think we get a shot right after the game is won of Hazel and Eliza cheering, and then they get shushed by a nurse.
I think Hazel's cheering is a little bit less enthusiastic than yours is.
Oh.
And then Eliza walks out of the hospital and gets in her car. And I assume you go to pick up Faith.
Yeah.
How does that go?
This is now the third time I think that Eliza has picked Faith up at her house. So I don't know. Has Eliza met anyone else in Faith's family yet?
I think you have met her mother in passing, but not really a whole lot of conversation between the two of you.
All right, so maybe there's just been a wave, but she's probably not getting invited in the process of picking Faith up. But yeah, she's I think she just texts Faith.
Yeah, there's a moment, and then you see her come out, and she jumps in the car with you.
We get this shot of Eliza kind of lighting up with a smile when she sees Faith, and she asks, "All right, ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's head out." And we get I think just a good little montage of them as they're heading out on a couple hours of drive, and they're heading into West Virginia. And I think maybe there's a shot when they pass the now entering West Virginia the sign, and Eliza starts humming Country Roads.
Faith starts singing along with you.
I think they both just full on sing the whole song together.
Excellent.
But eventually they do reach their destination, which is kind of just a spot at near some small lake in West Virginia's hills, and I don't know what it looks like in autumn. You probably do.
Yeah, the lake is fairly placid. The hills are rolling around you, cutting off any real view of the outside world. The trees by this time are starting to turn. There's a mix of green and orange and just a bit of yellow. You know that pretty soon nature is going to be putting on her fall best.
Eliza doesn't know that. This is her first experience with the concept of seasons.
Right.
Oh, right. Angelina.
So Faith is explaining to you that in a month or two it's going to look amazing.
We'll have to come back out here. And they pull up to, it's probably just a little turnout zone near the lake. And Eliza hops out of the car, looks out at the lake for a moment, turns back to Faith and smiles. "You sure about this?"
Faith grins. I've been wondering about this since the first time I saw those wings.
All right. And Eliza transforms right in front of her. And Eliza's still riding the four light, so her fire is actually just a bright white in this whole thing. After transforming, she strikes a little pose in her outfit. The sword stays in its loop at her hip, though.
Can I get a picture?
Don't post it anywhere?
Okay.
Okay. And she smiles and poses for a picture.
Faith snaps it real quick, tucks the phone away, and then joins her.
All right. So I've been thinking about the best way to do this, and I think it might be if you've got your arms around my shoulders here, and then I'll hold you here. And Eliza suddenly realizes as she's saying this that the arrangement she's proposing with Faith's arms around her shoulders and her arms around Faith's hips is very, very close. And then she just kind of goes bright red, blushing, and she's warm to the touch.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's nothing.
Okay. Trying to think if Faith would have. Yeah, I think that she was able to get her hands on a climbing harness or something like that. and is able to, with some creativity, is able to make that work as a sort of skydiving harness.
All right. And here we go. 3, 2, 1, and she blasts off.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like that. She's keeping it kind of slow so the wind doesn't overpower the two's ability to speak. But she's just like taking Faith over the lake and giving her like a look at the trees from above and such. She's being very nervous and like scanning the sky for planes and such, but it seems to be empty for the moment.
Indeed. Faith is just laughing in disbelief. She's looking around. She's trying to look back at you and struggling, and just eyes wide taking in this view from the sky, seeing the mountains rolling away in every direction, covered in trees.
I think we get a shot of Eliza like taking them both low over the lake enough that that Faith could touch the water if she wanted to, and then the reflection of the two of them.
She absolutely does.
And they just spend a nice little while on that.
Go ahead and roll build friendship.
All right. That's an 8 on the dice.
Yeah, indeed, she is now your mortal tie. You may add that to your character sheet.
I have done so.
Excellent.
I think there's about maybe half an hour of full-on flying before Eliza decides that's enough time and they should stop before they ping on radar or something. And she sets her down back near the car.
Faith unhooks the harness. Oh my god. And you get to do this whenever you want?
I mean, yeah, when I'm not hiding from radar or cops or dodging monsters, yeah.
That is so cool.
It really is.
Oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, me too. But just let me know when you want to, okay?
Yeah.
And look, so she's stammering for a bit, kind of wrings her hands, and the wings haven't folded up, and they're kind of just wavering as she's trying to find the words for what she wants to say. Look, so next week there's a concert in town I was thinking of going to, and I was wondering if you wanted to come along.
Uh, what kind of concert?
It's a punk group, kind of like what Hazel does.
Huh. I mean, I don't think that I've.
Ever heard punk music?
It's not something that I've looked into.
I think you could have fun with it.
Okay, sure. Sure, why not?
All right. So it's a date.
Uh, Faith pauses and an eyebrow raises. I mean, maybe not like a date, but it's. I think that sounds fun.
Oh, uh, okay. Yeah. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I know what I said about not leaving you in the car when the night that Hazel got hurt, but I was talking with the other two, and we don't think it's a good idea for you or Hazel to come into danger with us.
There is a rainbow of emotion across her face for a moment. She doesn't say anything, but she nods, and seems to accept that.
So just let us do it, and we'll keep you safe.
um, yeah, I will try not to get into danger, I guess.
Okay, because I really don't want you to get hurt too.
I won't get hurt.
Okay. And she steps forward to give Faith a quick hug, unsure of whether that's allowed.
She returns the hug. As you're on the way back, it's quiet for a while. And Faith, do you... I'm sorry, this sounds like a weird question. When you said date,
Yeah?
do you have like a... You don't have like a crush on me or something, do you?
You hear a sizzling sound.
You're... Please don't burn the seat.
Uh, uh, uh,
Do you need to... Do you need to get out of the car or something? I don't know how this works.
me neither. Whew. Takes a deep breath and the sizzling sound abates after a moment. I, she has no idea what to say.
Faith is sort of got one hand on her opposite arm and is just looking down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I, didn't know if you were, like, girl liker into...
uh, no. I
Hmm.
I mean, I like girls as friends, but not not the way that you're uh, thinking. Um, I I'm straight.
Eliza sighs and just... She starts, like, laughing to herself, just... Oh, this keeps happening to me.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not just you, it's just... Back in LA, I had this friend, Caddy, and I asked her out after she waves at her body and just like, after I started looking like this, and apparently she wasn't as into me afterward, so yeah, it's just a thing.
I'm I'm sorry. And Faith kind of slumps in the seat.
You don't have to be. Eliza reaches over and pats Faith, and her hand is still warm to the touch.
Is there any conversation after that as you drive her home?
I think so, yeah. Eliza is like clearly making an effort, but they do find topics to talk about that aren't my awkward crush on you.
I also want to ask, you have time, you have mortal ties. What do you want to do with them?
Well, I think that covers it for Eliza and Faith.
Indeed. Does Eliza have any stress or conviction to that she wants to defray?
Yeah, Eliza has 1 stress and 4 conviction, so she's gonna dump both of those, which I believe is enough to get her an experience point.
Yes. What? Well, first off, remind me, what is the Stalwart Soul's time spent with the mortal tie?
That's clear stress and conviction by making sure that your mortal tie is safe, which is what I was going for with that conversation of telling Faith that we're not going to get her in danger as much anymore.
Okay, yeah, I'll accept that. And especially with her response kind of suggesting that she's not interested in pursuing that, I think that qualifies. So tell me what that time, that reflection is that forms an experience that helps you grow.
I think it's dealing with failure. Because, like, the big obvious thing of accidentally stabbing Hazel, but also the whole, well, having been rejected again thing. It's just Eliza is getting better at dealing with not getting things the way she wants.
That makes sense. I like that. So would you like to spend that experience, or do you want to hang on to it?
At the moment, I'm kind of wavering back and forth between getting her a combat ability and upgrading a skill.
Okay. Would you like us to come back to you?
Yeah, come back to me on that.
All right. Des.
So my thing is, it just says spending time or quality time with
Mhm.
a mortal tie.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. What's something else we could do? We already did a football game.
I have a pitch. If Dez's family, like, I know we saw that her mom does a lot of like DIY and building stuff better, and we know Dad also does DIY stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What if Dez and Dad are like restoring an old or refurbishing an old like cabinet or wardrobe or something to put in Dez's room?
I would be very into that, and I have the handy slash DIY skill specifically because of Dez's parents.
All right. Yeah, we can do that. So I think this one, I'm thinking either a dresser or like a full-on wardrobe that they were able to find somewhere.
Yeah, I think. Who found it? Mom or dad?
I think mom found it.
Okay, then I think it's a dresser.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very staid dresser.
Yeah, as gender neutral as furniture gets. Okay, yeah. So I think we're maybe one of the tracks is broken for like one of the drawers, and maybe we're gonna sand it and restain it.
Yeah. I think your dad also wants to redo the top because it's kind of got some dings and pits in it. But what do you talk about while this is happening?
Well, I know one thing that David is gonna want to talk about. Des is at the start of this rocking around with forced stress, so she's still pretty injured.
Uh-huh. Most of that is not physically evident, but I definitely think it's slowing her down, especially because she did go down in that last fight.
Yes, which she had explicitly told her dad was not going to happen again. So I definitely think that's one thing that they're going to be talking about. But maybe Des is talking about like going to Chris's volleyball game, and her dad maybe walks into the like. So I noticed you got hurt again, kind of conversation.
Um, yeah, I think it's awkward and quiet at first, as you do some work and cut the new pieces. Your family has a dedicated wood shop out back of your house, which you did all in fact build together, yes.
Cool.
But like a dedicated wood shop with all the machines that you need, and you're fabricating the new parts. And I think that's a bit quiet. And then he finally, uh, you you doing okay, kiddo?
She looks up at her dad, kind of sees the worry pretty plain on his face, and looks back down and goes, "Oh, yeah, yep, doing good."
You didn't get into a fight or anything, did you?
No, no, no. I mean, I what would I even no, I've been hanging out with friends, and we've been I did fall and get a couple scrapes, and she gestures at the like one or two bandages she's got. But no, I'm okay. It's it's okay. It happens.
He smiles. Okay. I was worried that someone was, I don't know, gonna try and beat you up.
No, I mean I guess someone no one would be um why would anyone want to beat me up for anything. I try to get along with everyone.
There's a long, quiet moment, and he raises his eyebrow.
What? What?
It's fine. Can you hand me that piece over there?
Yeah, of course. She leans over and grabs it and passes it over.
Cool, thanks. He cuts off a piece to make a couple of pins. It's an awkward silence.
Yep. That's what I was gonna say. I promise I'm okay, Dad.
All right. You know, if you're going through stuff, you can tell me, right?
Uh, I mean, yeah, totally.
All right, let's get these pieces put together. Halfway through that, his phone rings and he stops, pulls it out of his pocket, looks at it, and goes, "Oh, I gotta take this. I'll be right back." He steps out of the wood shop and around the corner. "Hey, John." "Oh, perfect. Wait. Don't tell me. It's gotta be Google, right?" Ladonger? Why does the Cypriot company want a data center here? Okay. All right. I will go talk to some of my friends for the city and we'll see how they feel about that. Cool. All right, thanks. He hangs up and comes back in. What is going through your head while he's having his conversation?
Mm, she's not super paying attention to what's being said. She kind of thinks of it as like dad talk, but she's kind of thinking like she doesn't like lying to her dad, but she's not certain she can trust him enough to tell him about everything that's going on with her. It's more than just the magical girl stuff.
Yeah, it always is. So, as you spend this time, how much stress and conviction are you clearing?
So I'm clearing 4 stress and 1 conviction for a total of 5.
All right. And so, what is this experience that you think about in your head? What is this that helps you grow as a person?
Okay. So maybe I should combine it with what I want to spend the experience on. How do we feel about me taking that Gale action finally?
I think it makes sense.
Okay, so then I think she is considering some of the previous combat, coming to terms a little bit with like feeling as though her own, to put it lightly, misgivings about transforming are harming her friends. And I think she's specifically thinking like, if I had been a little more mobile, uh, I could have made it very easy to protect everyone without myself being hugely in harm's way. So I think where the experience comes from is the idea of being able to move about the battlefield a little more freely.
I like that. What do Dez's wings look like?
Oh man, okay, yeah. This one's the big one. Um,
I have a pitch.
okay.
What about stained glass to go with the shield?
Ooh, okay, I like that way better. Um, so it looks like a pair of like sheets of glass that are shaped by individual feather shapes of stained glass with all the colors of the trans pride flag alternating across both the wings.
You see these wings on your back for a moment and turn around and see your dad walk into the woodshed.
Does he see the wings?
I want to know what Des is thinking.
Internally, she is thinking, "Oh shit, I didn't mean to pull these out here. I was just thinking it would be like cool thing. I just learned I could do this. Still learning the powers. This was absolutely unexpected for her. So I return to my previous question, GM. Did he see this?
He looks at you and goes, "You good?" And you realize that the wings aren't actually there. A moment later, that if they had, you probably would have knocked something off a shelf, but there was almost a vision of them for just a moment.
Okay, she struggles to catch her breath, and goes, "Yep, yep, all good.
All right, let's finish this up.
Yeah, yep, yeah."
Chris.
I have a question. If I'm going to have Chris spend time with her mortal tie doing something rash, does telling said mortal tie that magic exists considered rash?
That entirely depends. Do you think there is a potential for this to go poorly? Do you think this could be an ill-considered course of action?
Chris doesn't care if it's smart or not anymore. She needs Jesse to lean on.
In that case, I'll say yes.
Okay. So I think what happened is that after she texted Jesse when they were at the hospital, Jesse probably saw that the next morning and was very concerned about it and saw Chris be barely present in class throughout the day. But knowing Chris the way they do, probably just gave her some space for a little bit and waited for her to come to them. And now that she's had a moment to try to sink back into life, she takes that moment and she texts Jesse and asks if they can talk.
Where?
Let's go for a walk in the woods. And she sends an address.
The woods has an address?
The
Yes.
woods has lots of addresses.
I am imagining a park that has a parking lot that is generally not super, super populated at this time of day, where they would have a chance to have some secrecy.
I have an idea, actually. Why doesn't this happen at the same river where we originally fought the snakes?
That's actually what I was thinking. That's a question for Rain as to whether or not that's secluded.
Well, it wouldn't have a parking lot, but it wouldn't be hard to either leave your cars at Dez's place, which is not far away, or just find some spot and then walk out there. But it definitely would be secluded enough. There's plenty of space out there with no people.
I think what happens here then is Chris sends the address for Dez's place, and when they get there, they park not immediately at Dez's place, and then Chris leads Jesse down to the river. And despite the cold, she sits down on the edge of the river, takes her shoes and socks off, and sticks them in the water.
Yeah, it's a small brook. It's not terribly large, but we are getting toward the cooler months as as the weather starts to change, the trees start to shed leaves. Well, the leaves start to turn. And Jesse sits down next to you and just waits,
I fucked up.
reaches over, pulls you into a side hug.
I fucked up, Jesse.
How?
I thought I could do some good and people got hurt. You saw Hazel isn't playing right now, right? Yeah.
Is this about your vigilante thing?
If it's a vigilante thing, it's no Batman shit. She stands up and leaps sort of across the brook. Jesse,
Yeah.
magic's fucking real. And she transforms.
All right. Would you like to roll transform?
I would. That is 7 on the dice.
Mm-hmm. So you can shift toward light or darkness, your choice.
Or not shift?
You can choose to not shift, yes.
Okay.
So describe for me what this looks like. Doesn't have to be the full description, but let's get a sense of what happens.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to make a very important character decision right now. Yeah, okay. I think this is that moment. Chris, for the first time in her transformation sequence, puts her hands over her heart before going into the rhythm of the whole thing. Feet, pedestal, dirt flowing up and over. We see the hair that was strawberry blonde. Before this transformation, she looked like she would normally on any other day. Plain old natural redhead. And in the middle of this transformation, her hair goes from strawberry blonde to something a little closer to her natural shade. That's a tick one down in towards darkness. We see the high-heeled over-the-knee boots. We see the platonic tan. We see talon-like fingernails. And we hear the cry of a bird of prey. And we see her hawk's wings spread. And she finally looks at them. Properly. I think these are red tail wings.
Yeah. Chris?
Jesse? Are you okay?
What am I looking at?
Magic? Eliza describes it better, but she gives a very brief description of the spectrum of magic and the kind of shit that they've been dealing with. She does not go into deep detail, mostly because she can't bring herself to do so. But once she's done, she just sort of waits to see what their reaction is.
Shit. Okay. So this is that game that you've been telling me about.
Yeah. I don't think it's a game anymore. But it is important.
I think it's important enough to not be a game.
You're probably right. Uh, she brings earth and dirt up over her and returns to her normal self in sort of a little bit of a dust cloud. Her hair goes back to her normal shade, and she hops over the river again. Okay, I needed to tell you that.
Probably a lot sooner, but yeah.
Because I also need your help.
Jesse's eyes calm for a moment, and they look at you and listen patiently.
When we got Hazel back, I stayed with her that night. I didn't want to lose her again, but she woke up in a panic. I don't know how to handle the kind of shit that you handle for me, Jesse. Can you... And she sort of laughs at herself and looks away. Should be a really funny time to make some joke about Senpai show me your ways, but seriously, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to helping people through that kind of thing. And I don't think she's done with it. And I want to be able to help. Any advice?
They think for a moment. Okay. Well, I guess the easiest way to start. How did I help you? Talk me through it.
It's a lot of cuddling.
You do like physical touch.
But she kind of thinks, and you usually sort of have me just sit with the emotions for a little bit, and then you have me talk through whatever it was that happened as best you can. You usually say something about no judgment, just being honest.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget grounding exercises, because if somebody's in the middle of a panic attack, they might not have a chance to talk through all of that.
Right. You showed me some breathing stuff that your low brass instructor taught you, right?
Yep. You can also ask them to exercise their senses. 5 things they can see, 4 things they can hear, that sort of thing. And that will help ground them in the moment.
Chris nods, listening and doing her damnedest to take it all in.
And I think you go through that. And what is the experience that Chris pulls from all the things that she's been through as she clears, I assume, a considerable amount of stress and conviction?
Interestingly enough, she at the beginning of this episode was at 3 and 3. I think she was at 3 and 4. So she's now down to 2 and 3 from the relax and then the transformation. So she is going to be only clearing the 5 total.
That's still enough.
I think the biggest thing that Chris takes from this is the reality of what it is that she is accepting as her role in the world. This isn't a game, as for all that she has tried to frame it as a game, as a way to protect her own sanity. It's not what this is. This is real. This hurts. But she can do something about it. And she's got people that she can lean on if she can bring herself to trust them.
Yep. And so you get an experience based on that. Do you want to spend it now, or do you want to bank it?
I will bank that because I'm not quite sure what it's fitting with yet.
Gotcha. And as we fade from that scene, I want everyone to pick a set of numbers. One person can pick 1 to 2, one person can pick 3 to 4, and one person can pick 5 to 6.
Y'all, I got a bad feeling about this one.
Me too. I'll take the 1 and 2, I guess.
Rob, any preference?
Forgot I was muted. I'm calling 5 and 6.
3 and 4 for me.
All right. Skylin.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
We open on a scene. It's a pretty, not a super fancy office. It's got a nice desk in the middle with papers very orderly stacked. Off to one side is a wall full of various very important looking books. And near a window, there is the United States flag and the flag of Virginia. The door opens, and we see a man that we've seen before. Detective Becker walks in, and the camera pans over to the person that he is about to speak to. And that's you. Why don't you describe to me the state's attorney for this office?
This state attorney looks an awful lot like most of the people that you see in public office, especially those that have more power in this country. Well-tailored suit, not a whole lot of hair on the head, not a whole lot of melanin in the skin.
Detective Becker sets down some folders and, Okay. I think I've got this. I think I've got something to go off of. I just wanted to run through it with you.
Lay it on me.
So, this set of break-ins, I think I know what happened to him.
Let's see if you actually have a case.
You remember the incident at the baseball field the other week?
Couple of kids doing weird stuff, sure.
We followed up on that. Turns out that there were some kids hanging out in a place that they shouldn't have been. It took a little bit, but turns out they saw those two hanging out together again, and they were with someone else. And would you guess what they had with them but a bunch of bladed weapons? You know, like the ones that went missing. A couple days later, one of them, he checks a note. Eliza Hardwick showed up to the museum returning some swords. And just the other day, another one of their friends shows up in the hospital with a stab wound. So I want to get a warrant to search for those weapons. Other than the ones that they returned, we haven't seen any more pop up. So they probably still have them. I'd be willing to bet that it's this Eliza kid. Considering that this is twice now that one of them has shown up injured, I think we've got a case with some kids with more time than sense on their hands who just got bored and started a fight club. I think I can get the evidence. I just need the warrant.
Becker, you've certainly pulled some strings together. If it were just the first 3 instances, I would say this isn't worth the judge's time. But given what you've brought up after that, at the very least, we've got some kids who are presenting a danger to themselves. So that's worth looking into. Let's hope it's just some mischief.
I appreciate it, sir. I'll get the paperwork put together.
And the attorney sort of just waves him out of the office.
And I think that's where we're going to wrap up this session. Thank you, everyone, so much for playing. Thank you to our audience for listening. And I hope you all have a good night. Thank you again for joining us on this adventure. With Conviction is a production of Silver Maiden Games. If you would like to play Conviction, check out the game at silvermaidengames.itch.io. Music for the intro and outro of this podcast is A Soul with Conviction by Doom Vega, who you can find on Bandcamp. Music within the episodes is by Rachel Rose Mitchell, who you can find on Bandcamp and Spotify. All rights to the music are retained by their original artist. Production and editing are done by myself and the With Conviction cast. Thank you all. This would not be what it is without you. You can find this podcast on Spotify and YouTube or silvermaidengames.wordpress.com. You can also find more about the game, podcast, and ways to contact us at silvermaidengames.wordpress.com.